is Harsha Eldapuri. I'm a premier field engineer working with Microsoft, predominantly in the area of SQL Server. And today the topic is understanding high availability and disaster recovery. I'll get you people into the objectives and aim of this session, but before that, let's get into the terms and conditions. How many of you are married here? Married? Yeah. I would say reading terms and conditions is like, arguing with your wife. At the end, you just say, I agree, and click OK, and move on. Right? We did the same here. Now, going into the module, so the main objectives of this session is, you're going to understand what high availability is with respect to the databases and data, and why high availability and disaster recovery is important when you face your customers, right? You can ask them these kind of questions and establish your credibility that you're valuing their data, right? This doesn't need too much technical knowledge. It's a generalized concept. The technical knowledge about this high availability and disaster recovery, like what are the technologies that are available with SQL Server, or later being discussed by Max. You'll get a sneak peek. Now, as I said, you'll know what is high availability, what is disaster recovery, and what is the importance of it. And I have one more objective of this session is getting Martin to answer me what high availability is.
I will try my best.
Now, what is high availability? In a perfect world, critical data will be available no matter what the situation is, right? But are we living in a perfect world?
No.
No. We're living in a real world where there are numerous problems that are after the availability of our data, right? And we need to have a proper strategy to make the data available all the time. And to keep it in a normal language, we might have threats from software failures, we might have threats from hardware failures, we might have threats from process, people, you name it, right? So having certain technologies in place to tackle the failure and have your data highly available is simply called high availability, right? Martin, what is high availability now?
High availability is to tackle because I think this thing proactive people.
It's simple. High availability is nothing but having some technologies in place to keep your data highly available, right? Now we know what is high availability. Let's move on to why high availability is important, right? For example, let's take a hospital where all the patient records are computerized. Let's imagine it's midnight and one of the patient is in a critical situation and the duty doctor needs to treat him. Let's imagine that the database there is crashed and all the computerized patient records are lost. Now the duty doctor will be scrambling even though he's a doctor, right? He needs previous records. That makes his life easy. Now there is no guarantee about the life of the patient. This is how important data is these days, right? Those days are gone, having everything in the papers, referring them again and again. We're in Gen 2K, right? So data is very important. Now, the data might need physical maintenance, right? Security updates, and these are called planned downtime for me. Any system needs maintenance, right? And at this moment, your data might not be available. There are certain unplanned events like fire, someone might pull the plug out of your power system unknowingly, a power outage or a flood or something. So your data might not be available, right? So at this moment, when your data is not available and you really need it, and if you don't have it, then you're gone, right? So that is the reason why data is highly important and it should be highly available. As I said, there are two causes for downtime or data loss, mainly planned downtime or unplanned downtime. Planned downtime might be maintenance, having your updates and upgrades, and unplanned downtime might be a data center failure, there might be disk corruption, or human error. I might run an update statement without having a predicate. What will it do? It will change the entire data in the table, and whenever a customer needs to access the data, gone. It will be nuts there, nothing. So, you can avoid the situation, and you can reduce the downtime, and you can save your data. What should you do now? You need to start planning now, right? How to keep your data highly available. Next. So, Now you're planning to keep your data available, highly available. So you need to have certain metrics, right, to keep your data highly available. I want my data 100% available. I want my data 24/7 available, right? This percentage is just not a number. You need to conceptualize this percentage, right? So in terms of proper definition, high availability is nothing but the percentage of uptime in a year. If someone is there with math freaks, there's a formula to it. Actual uptime divided by expected uptime times 100%. So there you arrive at this kind of availability percentages. So if you say the database or an application is 90% available, so you have 36.5 days of downtime to deal with. We call it the theory of nines. The number of nines increases, the total downtime decreases, as you can see, right? Now, to have, for example, just imagine a banking application. Are you okay if you lose 5 minutes of banking data? For example, I have just deposited some 10,000 crores in an account.
In this case, maybe not, but if I spend my money and the data is lost, then I'm totally fine.
Either of the parties might be the loss, right? Either of the parties. So, it's very important for applications like banking applications to have a 5 nines strategy, right? So, you might impose certain high availability techniques like SAN replication, having everything replicated from here to there, time to time. Everything comes with a cost. So nothing comes for free. And having these high availability techniques need everything to tick. The technology, the right-minded people. As I said, if someone's crack enough to delete some database, right, you might lose the data. So you need to have everything to be clicked. Now, let's move to the other part of the high availability, disaster, right? All this thing is just before a disaster to how to deal with a disaster. Okay, just imagine a disaster happened. Now, how do you deal with it? Disaster recovery. So whenever a disaster happens, the amount of measures you take to get back things online or get the entire application up falls as disaster recovery, right? This is definitely a reactive plan, right? Yes.
But we don't need to worry about disaster recovery with Azure because everything's in the cloud.
Everything's in the cloud. Cloud also might sustain failures, right?
That's not what Microsoft says. Microsoft publishes that you'll get high availability in the cloud, which means it'll always be available.
It's a long topic to debate, Mr. Dixit. We'll have the topic in the parking lot, we'll deal it at the end, right? But
is it true or not?
no. See, if you can see Mac's presentation from yesterday, is dealt with high availability in the cloud. I'll come to you. And he had topics like geo-replication, right? What geo-replication does, if one of your site is down, your data is available in a different site, right? There are chances of failure.
Okay.
Azure's only 3 nines, isn't it?
Yep.
I think Azure's only 3 nines, so there's a certain amount of downtime from your chart.
Okay.
And you had before with the nines.
I'm not sure about that part. I'm dealing with on-prem stuff.
I
Right?
think it's just 3 nines.
Yeah.
So
Your question?
Well, I thought about that, he asked about this cloud. I thought that is nitty gritty stuff what Microsoft does for you behind. You don't even know this disaster recovery because they take care. So that's why he thinks that it's all the time available.
Yes, they take care, but you need to have you need to click the button, right? You need to
All
click
right,
the
I
button
need
to
to
take
do
care.
that.
It's not automatic. Everything does not come out of the box, Martin.
Yeah, but they will take care.
They will take care if you click the button.
Alright,
If
so
you click the button that I need this data to be replicated to somewhere else.
but I don't need to do any like
You
calculations.
don't need to have your pen drive there, move the data in, have a flight ticket, go to the other side, keep it there. They will take care for you. Okay?
Alright, so yeah.
Now, most of the people have a common confusion that high availability is equal to disaster recovery, right? From our explanation, it is not right? High availability is definitely not equal to disaster recovery. High availability is having measures in place to avoid the failure. Disaster recovery is having measures in place to get back online as soon as possible when you have a disaster. Now, just the same here. Let's move to what are the main requirements for high availability and disaster recovery. As you can remember, the two main requirements for high availability and disaster recovery are RTO and RPO. RTO stands for recovery time objective and RPO stands for recovery point objective. recovery time objective is how much time are you taking to get back things online, is RTO. And RPO is recovery point objective, how much data loss is allowed for your application, right? If your service level depends on the number of nines of your application, right? If you have 5 nines, your service level is the utmost priority. It must be service level 1, right? Now, let's see another video. For example, here you have a disaster, right? This is the application and you have a disaster. So where do I keep my RPO and RTO here? For example, it's
Sorry, Asha.
ah,
Can you repeat?
is it visible to everyone
Yep.
now? So here I would say these are the transactions lost and this is downtime, right? So this is a disaster. Where do I put my RPO and RTO here?
Yeah. You should be below.
A disaster happened, right?
RPO is on the top.
Yeah.
Exactly.
RTO is on the bottom.
RPO is on the top. Here the RPO point is here, and after this RPO, this portion of data we're losing, right? Transaction lost. And we keep the RTO here after the disaster happened. At this point, right? We got things online. This is downtime, and this is transactions lost, right? Depending on the business criticality of the application, the RPO and RTO defines high availability and disaster recovery. For example, let's imagine I have a banking application, right? I can't have this much of downtime or this much of transactions lost, right? What I will do is, yeah,
Does it depend, like on nights you don't have so much transactions, can you have more downtime then?
can you come again?
I mean, like, let's say banking application, bank is active, let's say from 7 o'clock till 10 o'clock in the morning, all transactions go through. Does it mean when they don't have so many transactions, do they let you to do longer downtime?
No, no. We have online banking, we can do it 24/7, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You can't predict that in the nights we have less traffic.
Okay, there's nothing to deal with that.
There's nothing to do.
Okay, fine.
So, if I have 15 minutes of RPO, I might lose 15 minutes of data, right? So, depending on the business criticality of my application, I'll aim for a lesser RPO and I'll aim for a lesser RTO. In this way, RPO and RTO define your high availability and disaster recovery standards.
Sorry, Mash. RPO equal to 0 is achievable.
It's not highly achievable. It's a rare case, and RPO equal to 30 seconds is achievable with always on high availability groups, which you can cover in usage. So, when I ask anyone, what is your disaster recovery plan? Most of their faces look like this. Just, Martin, if you have a disaster for your dynamic CRM database, where do you start?
Visual Microsoft takes care, so I don't start because it's online.
We
I
started.
don't know anything about disaster recovery.
So
They
you
take care for me.
You get these kind of replies from your customers when you ask these kind of questions. I would suggest start having a proper document. List all your stakeholders, list all your important databases, list where you're having your backups, have all the teams that are involved coming as soon as possible. Raise a flag. When do you raise a flag? How do you raise a flag? All the contact details, all the processes, steps, right? And you do DR drills every now and then, right? Even before. So depending, after every DR drill, have the improvements, list them in the document, right? That disaster recovery document is everything for you.
But if I'm online, I still need the document. If
Yeah.
I'm online, yeah.
No.
If you're online,
Yeah, if I'm online, if I go to Azure, I still need to implement all these things, documents and everything.
Yes.
yes, you need to implement all these things.
Okay.
And finally, questions. Is disaster recovery reactive?
Yes.
Yes.
And is disaster recovery planned reactive?
No.
No, it's proactive, right? You need to have disaster recovery plan before disaster. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I hope you're all well equipped with what is high availability and disaster recovery.
Zero.
Like you literally finished as it hit zero. Like it was.
Nice one.
Right, so very briefly, because we have to keep the. How do you turn the alarm off? Oh, there we go.
You think will you go next?
Very briefly, everyone at once. So, first of all, excellent. That's a significant improvement. I saw how you really addressed your challenges that you were having. Sorry. I was particularly impressed with the way you engaged the audience. The good use of humor. I typically wouldn't have pulled a stunt like that in front of a customer with T's and C's, but I knew the intent behind it, so bravo, because I thought it was quite a good laugh. So thanks for the humor on that. Your confidence levels were exceptional. You really drastically improved. I think the biggest takeaway for me was you didn't look at your slides. Might have been a touch too fast.
Yeah, I need to catch up the time, but I kept it more.
It's an observation, it wasn't a problem for me, just something to be aware of going forward. You ended up standing in front of the screen a bit. Again, observation, it's difficult to get right when you're trying to engage with the audience, whatever. I've been doing it the whole time as well, so just observation. And then everything else was really brilliantly done. Any comments from anyone else?
No, for me only screen. Yeah, I couldn't read them. I said, yeah, it was like locked. I was going nearly like
Change from the first day to this was exceptional.
Absolutely,
I'm
yeah.
panicking now.
But one other thing is engaging the audience faster. You did engage them with humor, but asking a question, getting them involved sooner, I think, again, just for guidance purposes, get them engaged, and I think they've had a little bit more opportunity for discussion and so forth throughout. Just again, for further improvement. You were brilliant. Well done. Just consider those. The engagement thing's still something you need to stop. Because it was something I noted before. There was improvement there. Just, I think a little bit more would have been excellent. But you were exceptional. You did a wonderful, wonderful job. Well done, Harsha. Really, really well done.
Just quickly, Harsha, I think right is your word to watch out for. Are you getting it right? Right? Okay. Sometimes you can blur the screen. Right. So when there's a button, I can't remember what it is, or a shortcut where you can just or just switch it off. So there were times when you were walking in front of the screen, right, and it's a little bit off-putting. So like, if you really manage it well, you can just turn the screen off.
Oh, speed. That's great. Great tip.
Yeah. And then I thought maybe when you're doing your doctor example, right, I thought that's brilliant. But then you were introducing databases again. Like if you'd have just said, there's someone who's critically ill in hospital, and there's only one doctor, and the doctor is in a car crash or something like that, then that's not highly available. You know, if you had said there's just two doctors rather than bringing in, but it was really.
This week, Karosh, can you